this is Knox Henderson with Great Bear Resources here in Vancouver. And today we're doing the second install of Q&A with Chris Taylor. And with me today, of course, is Chris Taylor, President and CEO of Great Bear Resources. How are you doing, Chris?
Excellent, Knox. Here I am in the office, completely alone. Once again, there is not another living soul.
Not a soul. Well, I showered, I shaved, I pressed this shirt. So, you know, it's business as usual here at Great Bear. So I'm glad to hear that. So with that in mind, let's jump into the questions. One that we're getting a lot of right now is based on this NSR news release that we put out a couple of days ago. There's a little uncertainty or misunderstanding about the record dates. Maybe you could clarify that.
Yeah, thanks, Knox. I've been getting these questions too. So, well, it's understandable there'd be some confusion because there are two dates of record or record dates. The first one was basically March 16th. So if you were a shareholder as of March 16th, you get to vote on the transaction. However, if you are a shareholder at the end of April, which is the end of this month now, I guess it's April 1st today, you will receive shares in the spin-out company. So there's two separate dates. One of them is past. There's not much you can do about that. If you own shares, you will get the voting information. The other one is still in the future. So people should be aware of the difference.
Got it. So, and with that, there's also a little confusion that, okay, you're taking out this NSR and you're ripping the value out of Great Bear. And I think that's unfair to say. Really, I see it more as a dividend. Maybe speak a bit on that.
Yeah, a couple valuation points there. As part of the transaction, we had to get an independent valuation done on the royalty. And because this is a very early stage discovery, I mean, we only found the LP fault, 10 months ago? Now, I would guess 11 months ago, somewhere in that range. So still a very new thing. There isn't even a resource yet. Doing the royalty spin out at this stage means that that royalty is probably only worth something like a couple $1 million at this stage, if you look at it on what you could sell it for on the market today. So it's a good time actually to do it, because the more drilling we do, the more advanced the project gets, the more that royalty should be worth. That's the way these things generally work if you look at comparables. And we think over the long term, if the project is as good as what we think, then over the long term, that royalty could have a similar value to Great Bear as a company, as an entire company today. But right now, if you're peeling out the value of the royalty, it's probably to the tune of a couple $1 million. So well under 1% of the value of Great Bear. So it shouldn't have a material impact on the valuation of the company at this point.
Well, stick it in your trust fund for your kids.
Yeah, well, you know, that's my plan. I mean, yeah. I don't know how you're paying for your future, but anyway, that's part of mine.
Okay, and you did touch on another thing, a resource estimate. A lot of questions about drilling, of course, the next drill results, and then I guess, what are you looking for in terms of actually putting out a resource estimate? When, I'm not asking you a specific date or time, what are you looking for before you put that resource estimate out?
Well, a couple things there, I guess. You know, I feel like a politician. It's hard to give a straight yes or no answer, but you're not actually asking me for one. So I'd say what we need to do is drill more. I mean, we're fully funded for this $21 million program that's going on now. There should be about 300 drill holes that come out of that program before the end of the year. It's still going, as we've talked about recently. I want to see, we want to see more data. Like right now, if you look at Great Bear, you're looking at something that has a very pixelated view, would be the word that I would use. It's like a standard definition television looking at the LP fault, right? There's just not enough drill density to really see the clear picture of what's there. Although you do see, it's like looking at a low resolution TV, you could see you're looking at a picture of a stack of gold coins, whatever it would be. However, you can't count the individual coins yet because you don't have the resolution. So as we drill more, we're going to get a high resolution picture, and that's going to give us an idea, the drill density, where the holes need to go in order to get that resource together.
So better spacing, fill in the gap, maybe step out a bit. And what about depth? Have you gone deep in any of these holes, and beyond 400 meters or so? Or
we keep going deeper over time. So part of the method is to basically do regular space sections along strike. And then, there's more than one drill hole per section. There's multiple drill holes per section. They get progressively deeper as they go down. So, we talked about having a resource defined down to about the 500-meter level on it, this year. That was the game plan going through the drilling. Hasn't really changed, but we will be putting in deeper holes as well. We want to see how far down this thing goes, and we'll do that systematically. So it's not like we're just going to line up the drill and do a 2-kilometer deep hole right away. But what we'll do is gradually walk it down with deeper and deeper holes, expanding the gold down section, down along these drill sections and along strike, and then filling in so that we get that high resolution view that allows a resource on the LP fault. There already is dense drilling on the
Right.
Dixie and Hinge, right?
Yeah, so you're looking more density in the drilling, closer spacing, and all that kind of thing, to make it worthwhile.
That's
So you can justify the higher grades too.
Yeah, one of the things that every company that has to define a high grade ore body has to deal with how much drill density is really required to put a resource together. Because there's, how would I describe this? In geostatistics, when you're calculating a resource, you end up with implementing something called capping. If you have a pixelated or not enough resolution on the view, basically you pretend that the high grade doesn't exist. And what you end up having to do over time is just drill more density. And that basically brings up your capping threshold over time so that you can actually give an accurate idea off of the high grade ounces in the body that you're working on.
Excellent, and I'm glad to hear that drilling's still going on at Dixie and Red Lake. And maybe what about, people are asking, what about in the core shack and the assay labs, kind of all the peripheral activity going on beyond the drilling, with this COVID-19 situation going on? How's that being affected, and how are you handling it?
Well, we've seen the labs are a bit slower than they were. Basically, almost everybody is shut down, right? From an exploration perspective across Canada right now. I know we're an exception that way. So that means the labs aren't getting the same volume of core that they usually would, or samples that they usually would. So they're consolidating operations, but they're still there open and servicing what we have. So, you might have, we might have had a drill assay turnaround time as low as 5 or 6 days or a week previously. That's a couple weeks to even like more than a month right now. But the assays are still going forward and they're still being completed. So it just means for us, we're drilling, putting core in, and again, exactly like we've been doing, amalgamating the results and releasing results in batches, sections, this sort of thing.
Yeah, I think through this whole situation, everybody needs to be a bit more patient and all that. So, and it's just great to hear that we're still working with a local crew. That's a big benefit for Great Bear. The other question that has come up is metallurgy. I know that we hired an expert. I should turn my phone off. I'm trying these. We hired an expert in metallurgy, and we're starting on the work on that. Maybe give an explanation on what we're looking at for metallurgy, when we might be putting out some results on that.
Well, metallurgy is important for any sort of advanced discovery because you need to have metallurgy before you do a resource. You can't. A resource is an economic construct. It's not there's sometimes some confusion that people think a resource describes how the gold is situated in the ground. It does not. It describes that, but it includes all the economic sort of parameters. You have to get a resource, you have to have economics tied to it. To put economics together, you kind of have to have metallurgy, knowing that, for instance, although you're looking at gold in our instance in the core, does it come out? Does it extract? So what we're seeing and we've been doing this work for well over a year now, is when we drill, we take thin sections, which are little thin slices of the rock that you can put under the microscope. And that shows us that the gold in our drill core is free gold. So the gold is not locked up inside of other minerals where it's going to be.
That's very common in Red Lake to have free gold.
Yeah, free gold is like, this is manna from heaven when it comes to gold extraction. So in Red Lake, generally, it's 95, 96% gold recoveries, because there's a lot of free gold. They figured out even ways. Some of the deposits have gold that's caught up in arsenopyrite and stuff. I don't think that's going to be an issue for us in any kind of scale. But the gold that we're seeing in the rock we're looking at is basically, it's majority free gold. And that means for us probably very similar, very high recoveries from what you see in the rest of the district.
Good. That's all I have for now. We'll keep doing this in the weeks to come. So thank you very much. And If you have any more questions with Great Bear, contact me directly at ir@greatbearresources.ca or call 604-551-2360. Thank you very much and have a great day.